the Iron Maiden, the Pear of Anguish, the Rack. Just hearing the names makes you think of dungeons and screaming, right? These things have become symbols of the Dark Ages, a time we imagine was just non-stop, insane cruelty. We've seen them in movies and TV shows, and they are absolutely terrifying. But what if I told you that the most famous, most horrifying torture devices in history were completely fake? The truth is actually insane, and it's way more disturbing than the stories. Today, we're busting centuries of myths to find out what was real and what was total fiction. You are not going to believe what we found. First up, the most legendary torture device of all time, the Iron Maiden. You know it, an iron box shaped like a person, filled with spikes. They lock you inside, and the spikes stab you everywhere without killing you just to make it last longer. It's a monstrous invention, but it's fake. Like, it literally never existed in the Middle Ages. Seriously, we looked everywhere. There are zero historical records, no court documents, no stories, nothing from that time that even mentions it. So if it's fake, where did it come from? Well, the story gets even crazier. The idea didn't even show up until the late 1700s from a philosopher who was probably just making it all up. The myth exploded in the 1800s because the Victorians were obsessed with looking back and calling the Middle Ages barbaric. Museums literally built fake Iron Maidens just to get more tourists and make more money. The ones you see today are basically 19th century props made from old junk, like a thing called a coat of shame, which was basically a barrel they made you wear to embarrass you. No spikes, just total humiliation. So the Iron Maiden isn't medieval torture, it's just proof that Victorians loved clickbait as much as we do. We literally filed a horror movie prop under history. Okay, this next one is somehow even weirder. It's called the Pear of Anguish. The story is that they would stick this metal pear in your mouth or other places, turn a key, and it would expand, causing insane internal damage. It was supposedly used on people for all kinds of crimes. But guess what? Just like the Iron Maiden, there is zero proof this was ever used for torture. It's another myth. Any pears you see today are from way after the Middle Ages ended. Their design is too complex. So if it wasn't for torture, what is this thing? Historians think they might have been weird old medical tools, or even crazier, they could have just been used to stretch out socks or gloves. Can you believe it? From a brutal torture device to a fancy sock stretcher. This just shows how our imaginations can turn any weird object into something terrifying. Okay, so the Iron Maiden is fake, the pear is fake. Seems like the Middle Ages weren't so bad, right? Wrong. Because this next one was 100% real and absolutely horrifying. We need to talk about the rack.
The rack was real, and it was used all over Europe. The design is simple but brutal. They'd tie your hands and feet to rollers on a wooden frame and just pull in opposite directions. The pain would be insane. You'd hear your joints popping and breaking. If they kept going, they could literally rip your arms and legs right off your body. And unlike the fakes, the rack is everywhere in the history books. They famously used it in the Tower of London to force people to confess to treason. It even had a creepy nickname, the Duke of Exeter's daughter. One woman named Anne Askew was racked so badly in 1546 that they had to carry her to her own execution in a chair.
The rack wasn't just punishment, it was a terrifyingly effective way to get information. They would slowly torture people until they confessed to anything. This one is no myth, and its real history is every bit as horrifying as the legends. I want to know the craziest torture myth you've ever heard. Drop it in the comments below. And here's the craziest part. While people were busy inventing fake torture devices like the Iron Maiden, they were ignoring the real government-approved punishments that were 1,000,000 times worse. The reality of justice back then needed no props to be horrifying. Just look at the official punishment for treason in England, being hanged, drawn, and quartered. This was not a quick death, it was a public show. First, they dragged you through the streets behind a horse. Then they'd hang you but cut you down while you were still alive. Next, the executioner would disembowel you, sometimes burning your organs right in front of you. Finally, they'd chop your head off and cut your body into 4 pieces to display all over town. This actually happened to famous people like William Wallace and Guy Fawkes. And if you think that's insane, get ready for the breaking wheel. They'd tie a person to a giant wagon wheel, and an executioner with a heavy iron bar would smash every bone in their body. Then they just left the person on the wheel to die from pain and dehydration, which could take days. The whole point was to make a terrifying example out of you. These methods were 100% real and way more brutal than any fake spiky cabinet. So, what did we learn today? Basically, our image of medieval torture is mostly a cartoon, a landscape filled with fakes like the Iron Maiden and the Pear of Anguish that later generations made up. But we also saw that the reality was somehow even more brutal. Torture was real. The rack was real. And insane public executions like being hanged, drawn, and quartered or broken on the wheel were real, government-sponsored events designed to control people with fear. Maybe the reason we love these myths is because the real history is just too disturbing. We'd rather have a scary story about a spiky box than face the fact that real people did these unimaginable things to each other. History is rarely that simple. It's a crazy story about power and what people will do when they think they're right. If you think busting these historical myths was as insane as I do, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching.